Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut a simple corset bodysuit. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, and to also join our pattern drafting class, go ahead to send us a message on WhatsApp. So to start, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline. Next mark I'm going to make on this pattern is my crotch line. So just like when you're marking your trouser, you mark your crotch from your waist, and there are two methods of getting that: going ahead to divide your hip measurement by 4, or going ahead to sit on a flat surface, take your measurement from the waist down to the flat surface you're sitting on. So my crotch is 11 inches and I marked it on my pattern. So after that, I'll go ahead and add 1 inch extension at the lower part, which will be serving as the area where I'll have my pressing button on. So after marking that, I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder divided by 2 at this point. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2, I have 7. Now I'll come down by 1 inch at this point and I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'll mark out a basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches. So now I'll place my curve drew and I'll go ahead to connect. After that, I'll go ahead to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Mine is 7. I made a mark on that point and I drew out a straight line to serve as my chest line. So go ahead to mark what you have on your shoulder back on your chest line. Place your ruler and connect. Now you're going to divide what you have here into 2 and mark. After marking, come out by ½ inch. Now on your chest line, mark your bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I have 8.3 inches approximately. I'll connect it to the ½ inch and connect it to the upper part of the shoulder. Now I'm cutting my corset as a dartless corset, so I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add ½ inch. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and add ½ inch for joining allowance. Now on the waistline, I want to take out 2 inches from my waist. My waist is 28 minus 2, I have 26. So I'll divide that 26 by 4 and I have 6.5, and I marked that and also added the ½ inch extra. Now if you're making this with a stretchy fabric, you don't have to add ½ inch to it, and you might not actually use your measurements. Let's say you can mark your bust circumference divided by 4 and come in by ½ inch or 1 inch because of the fabric is stretchy, but we are making this with a corset mesh. Let's say we are making it with a corset mesh. So the next step you need to take is to go ahead and mark your hip point. So for this pattern we are using 5 inches. That is 2 inches above our hip point. This is to enable the bodysuit to relax very well. Now you're going to mark your hip circumference divided by 4 and add ½ inch for joining. So remember, like I said, if you're using a stretchy fabric, you're not going to be adding any allowance, and you might even come in from your original measurement. So after I'm done marking this now, from the lower part of the pattern, that 1 inch extension, you can come in by 2 inches or 1.5 inches there, or you can even use 2.5. This totally depends on what you want to achieve at the lower part. Now from this point, I'll place my tape this way, tilt it a bit and mark about 4 inches. This will serve as a guide to draw out the curve at this point, and I'll go ahead to connect this. I'll be using a freehand sketch to draw this out. Once I'm done marking out and I feel here is okay, I'll just go ahead and outline this to the end of that 1 inch extension, and that indicates our pressing button. So go ahead to outline your pattern, and I'll connect. I'll go ahead and cut this out, and we'll go about drafting out the cup part of this corset pattern, because we are drafting it as a dartless corset. So at the front part of my pattern, starting from the chest line, I will mark ½ inch all the way to the under bust. This will be serving as the cup bridge. That is that half inch at the center of your cup. It is called a cup bridge. So here is the pattern paper where I'll be transferring all my measurements, and I marked half inch at the starting point and at the lower point. Next measurement you want to take is your cup height. So place your tape above your chest line where you want your cup to start. So I want mine to start 1.5 inches after my chest line. So after marking that, measure from that point to your underbust. That is the extra 1.5 inches I went up to my underbust. So after measuring mine, I have 5.5 inches. So how I got the 5.5 is from my chest line to my bust line is 1 inch. From my bust line to my underbust is 3 inches. That's giving me 4 inches. Then plus the extra 1.5 inches on top, I have 5.5. So from my starting line that I marked on the other pattern paper, I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line on that point. So now you want to mark your bust span, which is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. Now we are going to start by marking our cup width first. So since my nipple to nipple divided by 2 is 3.5, remember we marked half inch in front for our cup bridge. So you will take out that half inch that you mark from your cup bridge, and what I'll be marking from this line now is 3 inches. So my nipple to nipple divided by 2 is 3.5. So we marked half inch in front of our corset pattern, which we took out half inch for our corset bridge, that center part at our cup when we are drafting our normal cup. So that's why I have 3 inches. So for the side, what you're now going to mark is your nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus 1 inch. I'm adding this 1 inch because of the bust is fuller by the side. So you can even add extra 1.5 if you have a bigger bust. So now I'll go ahead and divide the rest of my cup into 2 equal parts. I'll go ahead and I'll also fold on this part and I'll mark. After I'm done marking, I'll draw out a straight line. So the next step I'm going to take now is to mark half inch round this my cup. The reason why I'm marking this half inch is so that I won't have a pointy edge at that point. So from here, I'll be marking 1 inch at the lower part of the cup. And from the upper part of my cup, that half inch I came down from, I'll go ahead to connect my cup. And also go ahead to connect it at the other side of my pattern this way. So after I'm done connecting now, we are going to work on the upper part of the cup. There's actually a formula to get this, but it might be too complicated for this video. Now at the upper part, I'll mark half inch on both sides. So if you have a bigger bust, you can use 0.75 or 1 inch, and at the lower part you can go ahead and use 1.5. So in front of my cup here, I'll mark half inch on both sides. So what I'll do is also mark 1 inch at this side. Remember at this point I marked half inch, and I'll go ahead to connect it. This is the part going towards the center of the cup, and this is the part going towards the side of the cup. So I'll just go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting at this point, I'll go ahead to outline my cup to make it more visible for you to see. To avoid getting confused, I'll go ahead and label my cup. After I'm done labeling it, now I'll come in by half inch. You might leave this or you can just go ahead to mark it. And I'll go ahead to connect. So I'll connect from this part to the underbust of my corset pattern. And I'll also go ahead to connect this part to the underbust. I'll also go ahead to cut these lines out now. Now I'm trying to blend in my cup, and I'm trying to make these parts blend together. You should not have a sharp edge on your cup. Sorry. Now I'll use my marker and I'll go ahead to outline this way and connect it very well. Repeat the same process at this side, and I'll go ahead to connect. Blend in the sharp edge I have on this point. So after doing this, I'll come in by that same half inch here and I will connect. Now after I'm done connecting this, I'll go ahead to come down by 1 inch at this point. This totally depends on how you want your cup to be. If you want the neckline to be a bit deep, you can go down by more than 1 inch, and then you can go ahead to extend your cup at the upper part if you don't really want your cup to be this low. Now I'll go ahead to blend my cup. Make sure this part is matching before you cut it out, and I'll go ahead to cut out the rest of my cup, and I will be blending it together with my tape. So if you have any question regarding this part of this video, go ahead to leave it at the comment section. Now I'll just go ahead and use my sellotape to hold my cup together, and with this cup I'll be using it to draft out the cup part of the dartless corset. So I'll also go ahead to join this upper part and the lower part together, and then we'll move to the next step. Now what I'm going to do is to take this cup. If you notice, the cup is very deep. Now you're going to place it at your nipple to nipple point, and you're going to be drawing out your cup. If you're not sure of your nipple to nipple point, go ahead to mark it again. Now any shape that you place your cup, that is what you're going to be having on your cup pattern. Now just go ahead to cut this out, or use the shape of the cup to mark the space for the cup corset round. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also leave your comments at the comment section. So this is what I want. If I want to make it deeper, I'll go ahead to tilt the cup. So I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to mark out the areas where you're going to have your boning channel and extend this to the side. So this is what my pattern looks like, and I'll go ahead to cut it out. And after I'm done cutting this out, we'll move over to the back pattern. So the back pattern of this dress is actually easier and simple to work on. So I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements, just like we did for the front pattern. We marked our shoulder to waist, shoulder to under bust, and the 5 inches for our waistline. So the neckline I'll be using for this back pattern will be 3 by 1.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to connect. After connecting, I'll go in with my marker and I'll go in and outline. So next, I'll go ahead and start placing my measurements. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. So at the back pattern, you don't really need a very curved armhole. I'll just place and reconnect. So I'll go ahead to mark my under bust circumference and add back my sewing allowance. Use the waist measurement I used for the front at this part. Remember, we snatched our waist a little, and at the hip point I marked my hip circumference divided by 4 and added ½ inch. So also remember, our hip point we are using here is 5 inches. That is 2 inches above your hip line. So now I'll go ahead and place my tape like this and measure about 6 inches this way. Now I'm going to go ahead to use my free hand and I'll connect. If you're good with your pattern at this point, go ahead to do that, but this pattern comes out easier with free hand at this point. So I'll just go ahead and I will extend this all the way down. Before continuing, I will measure 5 inches after my crotch line. Remember, we marked our crotch from the waist, and after my crotch line I went down by 5 inches. If you notice, the back is longer. This is due to the butt at the back, and also when you're pinning your bodysuit, you don't want your pattern to come from the front, you want it to come from the back. So that's why the back is a lot longer. So at this point I'll mark that same measurement about 1.5 or 2 inches down, and I will reconnect from the hip and also indicate that we have a pressing button there. Now I'll go ahead and use my marker and I'm going to outline this. So after I'm done outlining, I'll come down by 1 inch at this point, and after I'm done marking that, I'll come in by my nipple to nipple divided by 2. So I'll just connect that point. So you can use any yoke style you want for the back. I'll place my tape at the yoke and mark 0.3 inches. This is to get rid of any excess bulginess at the yoke and to make the yoke relax. I'll come down by ½ inch at the actual pattern and I'll go ahead to extend it back. This is so that the lacing area also will not pop up when you lace your dress. So now you want to mark out the lacing bar area, and I'll start with marking with 1.5. That is the area that you're going to be cutting out. And while going down, I'll be going down by 1 inch, ½ inch, and I'll just reduce a little at the lower part. So after this, I'll just go ahead to place my ruler and connect. I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line and make a dot to indicate I have a lacing at that area. So the next step now is just to go ahead to mark out areas that you want the boning channels to be. So after this, I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment at the comment section, and also join us in our next video. Thanks.